G'day gymnastics skill seekers, welcome back to another training vlog. I'm currently in week 6 of phase 1, I'm going to call it, of 2023, and for most of this phase I've been traveling, so catching up with family and friends all over Australia and just training with minimal equipment, whatever I could fit into my suitcase, 23 kilos for the flight. And yeah, it's been a different phase with that, so no weights and just working around the training program to the best of my ability. So I thought what I would do, seeing this is the last and final week of phase 1, is just go over some of the progress I've made and compare sort of week 1 to week 6, which is where I am now. So last week, week 5, I was at my parents' place helping them renovate their kitchen and just training down by their pool house. So pretty cool little property they're on. Bit of a walk from the house down to the pool house, but got some lovely gardens and it's a nice little spot. There's a bit of flat grass down near the pool. There's also a deck. It's a nice flat surface for handstands and things to train on. And then there's also a steel railing or steel beam that I can hang the rings on down there. The space is a little bit confined, not the best for taking videos, but it was okay to train at, and the steel beam was strong enough for me to swing on. So that's my little setup for training there last week. Yeah, week 6, I'm back home now, back in the shed we built, back with the gym equipment and just modifying the program again, getting back to some of the exercises I probably should have been doing if I wasn't traveling. So here's a quick summary of my gymnastics flexibility progress and then my gymnastics strength progress. Pike flexibility. The pike is one of my main goals, and I've been working on my head to toe. So at the start of this phase, I was roughly about a thumb length away from touching my head to toe. And then just in week 6, I did this the other day, and I'm maybe like 1 finger or 2 finger widths away from head to toe right now. I put this down to consistently practicing the head to toe. So I'm doing head to toe stretches twice a week. And also I think I did some straight legged good morning variations throughout this phase. Some of it was unloaded, didn't have weight. So it was just me pulling myself down into that good morning. Other times I had access to some dumbbells. So I was doing it with dumbbells. And I haven't really had access to a barbell until sort of week 6 to be able to, do the barbell variation. But this straight-legged good morning has been something that I think has also helped me in this phase. And I feel that the pike mobility or the head to toe has definitely been progressing. Next up is my pancake flexibility. And it's sort of hard to say if I've made progress with this one. In the last phase, I was doing sort of weighted pancakes. And in this phase, because I didn't have the weight, I was using the band. A valuable lesson that I really, noticed in this phase is like the surface that I was doing it on. When I was stretching on a hard surface, let's say a hard deck, I definitely wasn't feeling the same range of motion. When I was stretching on the grass, I got deeper in the pancake. So the surface that we perform, our flexibility on definitely has an effect on our range of motion. Back in the gym in week 6, I'm back to using the weight. So I feel it's good. I feel I've got good depth there, and maybe the banded stuff has helped, but it's just a little bit hard to say. I haven't really sort of measured it in terms of a target. But right now I can touch the brim of my hat to the floor, but obviously you can be flexing the back or, keeping a flat back. There are different variables in there, making it a little bit hard to measure. So side by side with that sort of, the same exercises and comparing, it's hard to track the progress here. I certainly felt it over the 6 weeks. I'm definitely feeling, the different sensation in the pancake stretch now that I'm sitting over the hip bones and I'm starting to get deeper into the range. Definitely times or definitely days where the hamstrings were sore after the pancake flexibility session. One thing that I did add in week 6 was this standing straddle Zercher good morning variation. Now, I didn't have the barbell to be able to do this while I was traveling. There were days where I did have access to some dumbbells where I was doing a dumbbell variation, but using the barbell here and just sort of hanging out in the bottom of this sort of standing pancake was a stretch I really enjoyed. So I'm going to suggest to my mobility coach that we put this back in the program for the next phase because it's not something I got to practice enough in this phase. Standing variations are great because you have the vector of gravity on your side, helping pull you deeper into the pancake, which you don't have when you're doing seated variations. So if you turn this image on your side, you can see how this correlates nicely into, the pancake position. What I like about this Zercher is being able to elevate my feet and trying to, sort of flatten the back, lift the chest and extend and touch the elbows to the floor here. So I think it would be a good one to keep practicing or keep adding into my pancake flexibility right now. Next up is the front splits, and what a difference 6 weeks can make. I haven't been training the front splits for that long. It's only been sort of a couple of phases where we've added this. In this block, we were working on some long lunges. So the comparison of, sort of week 1 to week 6 here is a huge difference. I definitely feel I'm going a little bit deeper here in the long lunge or the front splits variation that we're using. Geez, in the first couple of weeks, this flexibility session was really tough. There is some PNF hip flexor stretching, superset with the long lunge, and it was just like such a deep sort of stretching sensation of the hip flexors. And there were days where, my hips felt sore, my hip flexors felt sore, my lower back felt a little bit sore, even nights where I was waking up with like sort of aching hips because of this. I managed to work through it, and it got better as the phase went along. So it's not something I'd jump straight into, this long lunge. Definitely need to progress up to it. And I dare say, there's going to be, harder weeks coming with this long lunge and with other front split variations as I start to work deeper. And yeah, it surprises you how much DOMS or soreness you can get from stretching. But these long isometric holds, they are hypertrophy training. They are causing muscle damage, and the muscles are having to heal and recover from that. So expect to have DOMS if you're stretching correctly. If you're stretching and you're not feeling DOMS after your stretching session, then I'll argue that you're not really stretching. And finally, it's the gymnastics bridge. I've been working on gymnastics bridge push-ups. Again, it's a little bit hard to sort of see the progress in this one. I've changed, my technique here, been keeping the knees bent and focusing more on the spinal extension. Just trying to push up, keep the hands closer to the step, and really work on opening the shoulders and getting as much spinal extension as I can. Lots of different surfaces when I was traveling, sometimes a seat, a high surface, sometimes some planks of wood, sometimes a block, playing with different heights and just trying to get, a better sort of, I suppose, amount of extension and shoulder flexion in the bridge. Definitely feel that my back is stronger in this position, my upper back. I've broken my left arm twice as a kid, and sometimes I get sort of shoulder pain in this bridge position, but that's been getting better. And I put that down to the straight arm pullover that we've been working on, just sort of stretching and strengthening, that end range of shoulder flexion there in the extended spine position, and also just working, the gymnastics bridge push-ups. It's a lot of scapular stability, a lot of scapular strength there, a lot of tricep strength, a lot of shoulder strength all coming in, and just think that, it's been a good little exercise for me. Hard to measure the progress, but I feel that the bridge is getting stronger. Okay, moving into the gymnastic strength, my goals and my progress here. Goals of handstand push-ups and goals, obviously, of the planche. So one of the exercises we've been working on is the handstand push-up eccentric to the bent arm planche. Now, I've changed my technique in this phase. It's more about coming down in the handstand, getting to the bottom of the handstand push-up, and then extending and opening up into the bent arm straddle planche instead of trying to go down and forward at the same time. So this technique definitely changed things. It made things a little bit easier and allowed me to focus on, the two components a little bit more. I need to slow down the eccentric handstand push-up. That's what I've been sort of telling myself for these 6 weeks, and it's been getting better as the phase has gone along, especially from set to set. By the end of sort of 5 sets, I can start to fatigue a little bit, but the muscle endurance has definitely increased over the 6 weeks. Back rolls on the gymnastic rings. Frustrating. I thought I was so close after the last phase on this. I'm definitely getting closer, but I still haven't nailed this back roll just yet. It's about the timing of the hip extension. It's about getting the hips above the rings. I keep watching the videos back and sort of seeing like what I'm doing right, what I'm doing wrong. Trying to unlock, just that little bit more height in the pull, pulling the rings closer to the hips, getting the kip right, and then just trying to get the catch position as well. I notice that, on the reps where I do get close, the rings are probably a little bit wide. I need to get them back in so I can catch, that bottom of the dip position and then push out. Maybe it's some working on some, RTO ring dips. Maybe it's just trying to build a little bit more strength there, or maybe it's just got to come down to the timing of the kip in the hip. So I'll keep practicing that. I dare say it'll be in the next phase. And although it's frustrating that when you can't unlock a skill and you've been practicing it for so long. But it's definitely worth it, because when you do unlock the skill, it's such an accomplishment. It's such a great goal to nail, and it's a good feeling that all the hard work has paid off. So I haven't let it beat me just yet. And I'm looking forward to obviously keeping the practice up with the back rolls, and hopefully in the next phase giving you some better news about me being able to do back rolls. All right, we move on to the planche, and the goal in this phase was to move to more of an open tuck position. So instead of having the knees together and being in a tight tuck, it's having the knees apart, preferably on the outside of the arms, and not having the knees touch the arms. In the first few weeks of this, I just couldn't do it. It was just impossible. I was just like, how am I going to manage this? It's just not clicking for me. Now, I was traveling with my slightly taller P-bars, the P-bars that are roughly mid-shin height. And I realized that I needed to get my hips higher. So it wasn't until I started to stack the feet and bring the hips up that I started to realize, actually, I can hold this open tuck planche, and it's just how I enter into this movement. So when the hips are above the shoulders, I find it easier for me to protract and depress the shoulders, and easier just to lean into, that open tuck planche than it is if the hips are lower and I'm trying to lift the hips up and lean at the same time. I've definitely found that was harder. So the change in technique, or just the setup, made this exercise a little bit easier. And then I really think I surprised myself being able to hold, maybe 6 to 8 seconds in this sort of open tuck planche position. So I'm pretty happy with the progress here. I know it's a long way to go before I get into more of an advanced tuck shape, or more into, the half lay or straddle in terms of the planche, but it's good to see progress over that 6-week period. Front lever pulls. Now, these are tough. I've struggled with these. Again, not sure I've made too much progress here, but obviously still just working on building the straight arm pulling strength. I feel that I can hold sort of an advanced tuck and pull into the front lever position and then into inverted. I find that if I hold sort of the false grip and do the pull, it's much easier, but I really struggle to hold the false grip in the inverted position. So in week 6, I was pulling with the false grip, losing the grip in the inverted position, coming back down, putting the feet on the ground, resetting, and then going again, and felt the pulls were a little bit easier. I just maybe need to work more on my false grip strength to be able to maintain that false grip and probably improve the pull. Isometric front levers and eccentric front levers are definitely a little bit easier for me right now. This pull is definitely harder, the concentric sort of phase. And it's a big step up to go from advanced tuck to maybe the half lay, the straddle, or the full, hollow body sort of pull. So I don't expect that to happen in 6 weeks. It's just going to be that continual grind and continue to work on this. And then over time, over a longer period of time, be able to see the progress with something like front lever pulls. The last one is press handstand. I really enjoy this movement, and it's one thing I've really been trying to improve more. My flexibility was my biggest limitation in my press to handstand. It's starting to get better. The legs are starting to get straighter. On a few reps, I'm keeping them straight. My core compression strength is getting better. I feel that I'm tighter in my press handstand. I never ever thought I would be able to do a stall to press, but now I've been working on this eccentric into the straddle L-sit, and I'm surprising myself, My straddle L-sit isn't great. There's a lot more core compression strength and flexibility that needs to come, but there is this glimpse of hope. There is this idea that one day maybe I will be able to do a stall to press. So I'm happy with how this has been progressing. I really enjoy this movement. It's one of my favorite sessions to practice press to handstand. I can't describe what it feels like. If you can't do a press to handstand, it's just a really awesome feeling to be able to feel, yourself pressing up into that straddle handstand, closing the legs and holding the straight handstand, and then being able to control that eccentric motion. There's no other movement, not Olympic weightlifting, not muscle ups, not anything else that I've done that gives me the same sort of sense or the same sort of feeling that I get from being able to press to handstand. So it can only get better with a stall to right, but we'll see how this goes. Obviously the press handstand is good for, loading the shoulders, the straight arm strength. It's got carryover into the planche training as well. So there's a lot of benefits that come from being able to press to handstand. And that's pretty much it really. I think I've made some good progress over this 6-week phase. Some great gains in some of the flexibility stuff. Surprised myself with the open tuck planche, frustrated with the back roll, happy with the eccentric handstand push-ups. You know, there's pieces that are positive, there's pieces that need more work, and it's just all part of the journey, isn't it? So it's just accepting, you know, the good sessions and the bad sessions, and just thinking of the bigger picture. You know, sometimes we can get so wound up in the progress we haven't made in a phase, or, you know, a bad training session that we have. But when we think about it, you know, I've been training this stuff for years. One session in the perspective of everything I've been doing is so minute, it doesn't even matter. One phase, even 6 weeks, in the much bigger picture of years of training is quite a small time frame. So just keeping an eye on the prize, just thinking about the bigger picture, and just thinking about the days where things do go well and the little bits of progress, celebrating the small wins is what, you know, this gymnastics skill stuff is all about. So I hope you're enjoying your own training. If you've got any comments, I'd love to hear about your training. Feel free to add them below. If there's any questions you've got about my training, again, leave them in the comments and I will get back to you. If you're an adult gymnastics skill seeker who wants to build strength, increase flexibility, and unlock gymnastic skills that you never thought possible, you'll be interested in the email that I send out every Friday to my email list. In it, I include videos, I include training tips, I include, you know, my vlogs. Everything that I'm sharing goes out on a Friday, the things I've been working on for that week, how things are going with my clients. So if you're interested in that sort of stuff, then I recommend you sign up. I'll leave a link below. It's just a great resource that you can get every week in your inbox, making it easy for you to find, you know, some tips to work on in your own training. Hope you enjoyed this video. Please subscribe to the channel. And until next time, happy training.